Welcome to Two Women in Crypto, a weekly podcast birthed on a whim by two women who are excited about the cryptocurrency landscape and have a shared passion about empowering others to step into the digital, tokenized world of the future. We offer tips, tricks, and our own individual insights as to how to begin to navigate this shift. We are not financial advisors nor experts. We are just here to encourage you to look at the possibilities. So welcome to the future. You're right on time. Good morning.
Good morning, Kelly. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Two Women in Crypto.
Yes, indeed. We're super excited. It's kind of been an electric week, and we're, Andrea and I were just kind of having a brief little conversation before we started recording here, and we're super excited about this because we're just going to have a chat. We're just, of course, we're going to be covering all kinds of topics and things, but there's a lot going on out there in the world, and I want to do a couple of housekeeping things. First of all, as you know, or may not know, we do have a special event that we're doing on February 19th. It's an introduction to blockchain and cryptocurrency. And it's at 8 a.m. Pacific time. All the registration details are on our website. But it's interesting because, Andrea and I both are really kind of quiet out there on social media. I don't post a lot. I post about things that I'm doing within the Northern Gateway. And for the first time, really, I shared this week our image about our event on the 19th. And, Rowan's been an avid supporter. Everybody's been great. But it was really interesting because I think that there's some uncertainty as to what blockchain is, what cryptocurrency is, yada, yada. There's a lot of people out there that are involved, and then there's a lot of people that aren't, and that's fine. But I had some interesting feedback from some people, and, there's just, I think if you don't understand, that's one thing, absolutely. But we're just trying to encourage people to zoom out and look at what's really happening out there on the world stage in so many different aspects. And cryptocurrencies, of course, are a huge part of it, So, from my deeply spiritual community, I've had some folks come in and say, wow, Kelly, what are you doing? What is it that you're getting yourself involved in? And I'm like, this came to me completely on a whim. This conversation you and I are having just was birthed naturally. And we are all in a state of flow, you and I. It's like, let's do it. Let's just see what happens. It's fun. It's informative. I know that I'm learning a lot. And I'm also aware of the fact that this thread is so big out there that if I don't embrace it and really learn to understand it, then I'm missing an opportunity to see everything from a much larger perspective. So, Andrea and I are here to just really zoom in and just share, just talk our experiences, and hopefully it's impactful or eye-opening, or maybe you're going to roll your eyes. Either way, it's all good because we're doing what you and I are supposed to be doing right now, and that is sharing some knowledge, some information, and some encouragement to look at the possibilities, right?
Oh, no, absolutely. This whole thing is about, and anything that Kelly and I say, you can believe us, you don't have to believe us, but the whole point is to take some time and do some research. Okay, because even this week, we've been asking people out in the community, and this is something we have to have a talk, we have to talk about this. It's like, how does crypto relate to me? Why do I need it? I think it's a scam. Is it a scam? It's too volatile. I don't have the mental capacity to deal with what's going on with cryptocurrency. And that's exactly why Kelly and I started to have this conversation, because we're moving from one system to another. And as we go through different changes of economic systems, there's a lot of empowerment that individuals can do to really make their lives better, and to understand what's going on, and to spread, to kind of spread the word so people take personal responsibility to do the research and to learn so you can guide your own ship. right? You decide where you want to steer the ship.
Yeah, and not be fearful. I think, some of the conversations that have come back is the fear, like on the tax side of things, and that's been a block, I think, for a lot of people to even consider getting into it, because what are the tax implications? And I completely get that. And this is going to be a year of discovery and implementation and clarity on that front. But please don't let that stop you from looking at possibly getting into a particular position on something that you're interested in, or something that you believe in within the cryptocurrency sphere. The regulation, the clarity will come. I firmly believe that they cannot put up a roadblock today, tomorrow, next week that says, nah, none of it works anymore. It's the mass adoption is already taking place.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like what Rosie Rio said the other week, like the train has left the station. Rosie Rios was the treasurer of the United States government. She said the crypto train has left the station. There's no turning back. We all want to go back to like pre-pandemic times, but that's not the world that we're about to enter into, and we can see the changes. And I think it's great that we're having this conversation, because I was thinking about it, and it's like, it's the same thing. Like, how many people in the world know about monetary policy? How many people can pass a basic exam about the Federal Reserve Bank? This is not the time to not want to deal with what's going on in the world. This is the time to be brave, be courageous, and educate yourself.
Couldn't agree more. We are at such a historical crossroads that what is so exciting for me is that I get to participate in a way that, number one, is empowering, but also it makes me a part of that historical piece, right? Because I'll understand, you think back to what our parents experienced and all these, maybe not always the best aspects of history. Regardless, this is really a historical time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I find it very exciting to like live through something like this. Like, Kelly and I always talk about like being an observer. There's certain things we'll participate in, and there's certain things that we don't believe in, whether it's our morals, how we want to live our lives. Like, but every single person is going to have that decision one day down the road. And we're just here to be like, look, here are some of the possibilities. Exactly. And again, it's like the more educated we are, the more we can tell Congress, the more we can tell Senate, hey, we want a decentralized financial world. We want privacy. We want anonymity. And we also want to be a part of the financial economy.
Yeah. And we want to encourage people to have these kinds of conversations with their friends and family ask questions about cryptocurrency. Ask your friends about it. Who's involved, who's not, what do you know? What don't you know? Yep. So let's dive in. I mean, I just think that this is why you and I show up every week. And I am always so excited when Friday mornings come around, because me, I will call and I'll have the same conversation because I just need to talk to somebody, talk through it. Can we go through this one more time? So
yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And it was such a good thing that happened like last week, because, Rowan's like, what are you going to talk about on the podcast? And I told her, and she's like, no, you're not. She's like, you have to talk about like, how can people use cryptocurrency, and make it real. And like, I've been in this for several years, so I take certain things for granted. So anyone who's listening out in the community, you have questions, concerns, comments, reach out to us, be like, can you cover this? What are the pros and cons of this technology? Whatever it is, we're doing this to help people, prosper and secure their financial future. Like, that's why we're doing this.
And we're
And
learning ourselves because we're not experts. We are very much in our own learning curve. Andrea's been in it a lot longer than I have as well. So we use your questions as opportunities for us to learn too, because we're not going to always have the answers, but we'll, at least we're willing to do the deep dive and figure it out.
no, absolutely. Absolutely. So with that being said, let's start the topic and go over a couple of projects of how crypto is being used today. So we all know like hotels.com, expedia.com, you know, they search and they find the best prices for the hotels, and you put your credit card in and you pay for the hotel room. Well, if you go to travala.com, TRAVALA.com, you can book a hotel room right now, and they accept 60 different cryptocurrencies for payment. Okay, now it's not like a mainstream thing. I know a lot of people don't know this, but right now you can go to travala.com and you know, pay for your hotel room. And, you know, and then you think about like, well, let's look at some indirect adoption. Okay, because not a lot of people know about this either. Go to shopping.io. You go to shopping.io, and what that platform is doing is it's bridging cryptocurrency and retail. Okay, so you're talking about shopping.io. You can shop at Amazon, Walmart, eBay, and Etsy. You have a choice of 200 cryptocurrencies to buy goods and services from these companies through shopping.io. Now you can't go to amazon.com, but you can go to, not yet, but it's coming. And that's the whole thing. A lot of this is coming. And that's why we always say the future is now, and you're right on time, because what happens when Amazon, Walmart, Etsy starts accepting direct cryptocurrency payments? And that's the whole,
right around the corner.
It's right around the corner. Like, this is the year of regulation and clarity.
And I will just say that what you just shared there, just about those two companies, the Travala and shopping.io, if you're just now hearing that, I hope your mind's going, oh my, like jaw drop, because that's huge. It really is huge.
It's huge. I mean, it's absolutely huge. And like, you know, even if you just type in like overstock.com and just put something in your cart and scroll down for payments, you could buy something using Bitcoin.
There you go. Yep.
So, you know, again, it's like, I know a lot of it seems kind of esoteric and so far out there, but it's like crypto.com with Matt Damon did that commercial. Exactly. Fortune favors the brave. Are you going to be brave? Are you going to be courageous to educate yourself, to have a piece of the future of finance? Because we are not going back to these legacy systems. We are moving into a new financial system that is based on the tokenization, democratization of digital assets. This is the future of finance, and it's really nothing to even be scared about, because the models that are out there, the future of finance is so much better than our current financial structures.
Absolutely. Undoubtedly. And I think a lot of people, they hear the word Bitcoin, and that is this, you know, asset now, that people are like, oh my gosh, well, I don't own Bitcoin. Oh my gosh, like we said, there's over 17,000 cryptocurrencies. Seriously, 17,000. That's ridiculous. Not all of them are going to make it, but there are key projects out there. So like she said, there's over 200 cryptocurrencies that are accepted just at shopping.io or what have you. I mean, it's not just Bitcoin. So don't let the term Bitcoin go, well, I don't own Bitcoin and I can't participate. Oh my goodness. Yes, you can. So many ways to step into the world. Put your big toe in the pond. That's what I say. Just put your toe in the pond.
You know, and the other interesting thing too, like getting some feedback from the community, it's like, I think as humans, we have like this all or nothing mentality.
Yeah.
We're not saying take all your money out of your savings account and put it all on Bitcoin and Ethereum and XRP. We're not saying that at all, but maybe 1%, maybe 0.5%, because it's been like my experience that when people purchase a little bit of cryptocurrency and now you have a stake in it, well, now you start to educate yourself about it. And when you learn about what these systems are doing, how they're being adopted, what their use cases are, you're going to want to own more. And that's just been my experience, right? Because once you realize, like, we're not going backwards, we're moving forward. Jerome Powell said it, like at the beginning of the pandemic, you know, he said, we are not going back to the old financial economy. We are moving to a new financial economy that is based on the leverage of technology. Jerome Powell is the chairman of the Federal Reserve Bank. He is telling you where we are going. I mean, it's so exciting. The average person doesn't get a lot of opportunities to increase their wealth. I mean, think about the person who bought Shiba Inu. You know, if you invested $1 the day Shiba Inu came out, you're now a millionaire. There's not, and this is a small window of opportunity, because once we have mass adoption, and let's just say Cardano, XRP, Stellar, Ethereum, they all go to the moon. Are you going to want to buy those tokens then? No, you're going to want to buy them now. You know, when things are a little volatile, when things are like, oh my God, is it going to zero? Is it doing this? Because when you do the research, you know, like there are still people that think XRP is going to zero. Okay. Rosie Rios, take your dollar out. She's on the money. Why would the treasurer go and work for Ripple if XRP is going to zero? It's like, yeah. And like, we don't know 100% for sure, but it's like, I don't think someone like that would go work for a company if they're going to not succeed. And they've been building these systems now for like 8 years. This isn't new. Ripple's not new. Like Stellar Foundation isn't new. Bitcoin's not new. Ethereum's not new. You know, so, you know, and again, you think about like the internet, right? When the internet came out, you know, ever since like 1992, it's an evolving technology. Like we were able to share information. We've uploaded trillions of photos, trillions of videos that we could share back and forth. Okay. Who was making that money? How is the internet free? It was through advertising. And this is an example of how when we move into the new economy, now when people are on the internet and they're producing content, they're making songs, they're publishing their music, the people make most of the money now on the blockchain because we're eliminating the intermediaries, the middlemen, the people that take a good portion of our money. Look at Spotify. I mean, Spotify takes so much money from content creators. And I'm telling you guys, probably by the end of February, we're going to see a replacement for Spotify where content creators make most of the money. They're getting paid for the work that they actually do. We are leveling the playing field. This is not for the elite few. And I really, and Kelly and I, we don't mean to scare anybody, right? When we talk about the government and we name names because we need to be educated to be like, no, this is stopping now. Okay, this is stopping now. And we're steering the ship. We're going to make the money in the new financial system, and it's going to be fair and inclusive for everyone.
Right. It's like beginning to think for yourself and not just following this framework that has been presented to us. I mean, everybody's stepping out of the line, right? Instead of just being these complacent rule followers, we're just taking a look to the writing on the wall. And it's so exciting to me. So exciting to me. It's like electricity in the air. It's like, oh my gosh, it's so amazing.
Yeah, it's so amazing. It's so amazing. And the other interesting thing is, because I was trying to think of like everyday use cases, because right now, again, we are seeing like indirect adoption. But I know in the beginning, I forget if it was like podcast 2 or podcast 3, I talked about the Flexa network with AMP. And like they have an app called Flexa Spend. It's Flexa, SPEDN. It's an app that you could put down on you download it on your phone, and you could go and you could make purchases at Whole Foods, Bed Bath and Beyond, Ulta, Barnes and Noble, Baskin Robbins, Crate and Barrel, Express, GameStop, Lowe's, Nordstrom, Regal Cinemas. I can go on. So it's not being heavily marketed yet, but the thing is, we are moving closer and closer to mass adoption.
Yeah, and there's also, this may be in your list to cover, but there's also an application, it's called Bitpay, where you can actually buy gift cards for your grocery store, or, to pay a bill off, or a fuel card, or all these things. I will tell you, we always have to realize that these applications, these processes, just like the exchanges, there's fees involved. So just so you know, it's not like, it's not just for free that you get to use these things. There are going to be fees. That's how these platforms make their money. But it is a use case scenario that we can take these assets that are growing and use them in the real world.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And, and too, like, if we think about like, we'll talk a little bit about regulatory clarity, but it's like, we do have some regulatory clarity. Like, why would TurboTax, right? Like, if we do our taxes this year on TurboTax, we have the option to get our refund in Bitcoin.
I know that we saw that come out yesterday. That is, if the writing isn't on the wall, if that doesn't trigger an awareness in everybody, I don't honestly know what would. That is huge.
I mean, it's so huge. It's so huge. And like, it's just so many things to think about, because like people are saying like, it's a scam, it's this, it's that. It's not. It's the future of finance. Like even if you think about, non-fungible tokens, like when you buy your house and you get the deed and you have that paperwork, well, in the future of finance, that paperwork is going to be on the ledger, up in the cloud, stored for everyone to see, and it can't be taken away from you. And that's exactly what we want, because people who live in America or some of these like, westernized worlds don't understand, what goes on in some of these emerging markets, some of these other countries where, inflation is really, really high. Governments come in and seize their property because they don't have the piece of paper that says, this is my land. So these are just things that we want to think about, because I don't know, like I get really excited to think about how fair the new system is. CBDs aside, like all of this other stuff, it's like, we just have to get educated and steer the ship, and we're going to be okay.
Yep. I'm right there with you.
Yeah. So with that said, let's talk about some regulatory clarity that came down the pike. And this is something that you are not going to see on regular TV. I'll tell you that.
Imagine that.
So check this out. So there's the banks are getting ready, like stable coins are going to be this big part of the next regulatory clarity that we're going to see from the government. So there's a USDF coin, just like Tether, just like USDC, but the USDF coin is going to be issued by First Bank, Sterling National Bank, and many other banks. Okay, we're talking New York Community Bank, and the stable coin USDF is now FDIC insured. Ding, 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 ding. I don't think we all understand what that means. We have a digital currency called USDF that is now FDIC insured, just like your bank. Okay, so this is more adoption. And this is coming out before Biden releases the executive order, which is just going to be regulatory framework for everyone to pull together to make consensus on how we're going to move forward. You know,
It's not in the news. Nope, haven't seen that posted anywhere.
right? No one's talking about how
Nobody's talking about
we finally have a stable coin. And you know, it's really interesting, right? Because one of the reasons why Kelly and I do this is to wearing a t-shirt. It says unbank yourself. And here's why.
Absolutely.
So let's look at the USDF. How is it minted? When I say minted, I mean, how is it created? It's created by the bank.
Right.
So the bank is just going to print money out of thin air and give it to you and say, hey, we have the USDF in our bank. Are they transparent? Do we know that they have a 1-to-1? So every dollar that we put into these banks, are they going to, because it's the same problem that we're having now. So when I look and I say unbank myself, which is a Celsius t-shirt, I put my USDC, you know, and I'm getting right now, because the rates fluctuate, but you're still getting 8.5% paid out weekly. Are these banks going to pay you 8.5% paid out weekly?
Oh, hell no.
Right? You know, and now these banks can just like create these USDFs out of thin air, and because they want your money. Not only can you do that, but now you can buy cryptocurrency through these banks. So you can buy your cryptocurrencies through these centralized exchanges, or really a centralized bank, because it's not an exchange, but they're expanding their services where you can buy your crypto. And now this is how they're going to get around decentralized exchanges. You see that? Because
Absolutely.
if I have my money in the bank and I send it to Coinbase and I buy something, even if I sent it over to Qcoin, which is a decentralized exchange, once I put it back in my bank, they have that, they're tracking you.
Right.
So it's really interesting to think about. But again, it's like Celsius is a centralized exchange. I talked to Alex Mahensky. Celsius pays out 80% of all their profit back to the customers, which is a fair way to do banking. We are giving these companies our money and they lend them out. Okay, why isn't Bank of America, why isn't Wells Fargo paying us 8-9% on our dollar? They're not doing it. They're keeping the money. They're reinvesting it. So again, it's just, this is part of like education. And I get so excited because the more I know, the more I'm like, I know I'm going to get my Voyager debit card that pays me 9% interest per month. And then it's boom, I just start paying for things. And once all these cards, right, all these debit cards, the credit cards, are we going to see more adoption of cryptocurrency and these stable coins, or are we going to see less?
Of course.
Think about it. Remember when we used to use a phone booth?
Exactly. Right.
You know what I mean?
Walk around the house with a long extension cord around corners just to have a private conversation, if that was even possible when you had the old landlines. Yeah.
Yeah, right. With that big cord, and you would wrap it around when you were a kid and sit like in the bathroom and try to talk to your friend privately.
Oh boy, we have stories there, I'm sure. Yeah.
But it's kind of like, you know, things happen so slowly, like the internet. The internet became such a daily part of our lives. We can't even live without it. You know, like think about our phones. How many people look at their phones all day long. And it's going to be the same thing with blockchain. It's going to be a part of our lives. And we're going to be like, how do we ever live without this?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And we're, the one thing is that technology has taken a long time to get where we are today. And now that we're at this precipice, this new world that we're all being shown, it's going to move lightning fast. I mean, so if you think of the old analog systems, again, we're not going to have the same freedom of slowly easing into things like we did when the internet was first birthed. This is fast paced. We are moving quick.
It's such a good point. It's such a good point. Like I was doing some research over the week, and I was like, the federal debt came out and we surpassed $30 trillion. And they were talking about like exponential growth. And I'm listening to like all these different like macroeconomic people speak. And they're like, the human mind can't wrap their heads around exponential growth. We don't even really know what that means. But that's this technology, right? It's just like the internet grew exponentially. We first started off with Amazon, and people were like, what is Amazon? An online bookstore, which is all it was. And now it's Amazon of everything.
Amazon of everything that just
right.
raised prices yet again today for their Prime membership.
Yep, I saw that too. I did see that, but what I was thinking, and I started writing down these numbers with our debt. So they're expecting, so we're in 2022 now. So by 2026, they're expecting that our debt's going to increase to 40 trillion. By 2028, our debt's going to increase to 50 trillion. By 2029, our debt's going to increase to 60 trillion. By 2030, our debt's going to increase to 80 trillion. This is called exponential growth. This is not going to end well with the United States dollar. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, we just want to try to wrap our heads around it, understand that we're moving into a new economy. And I really believe in my heart, like we are getting closer to like this main event, like whatever this main event is going to be. But, we're getting closer to mass adoption. And once we have regulatory clarity and there's an executive order coming from our government that's going to provide the framework for stable coins, for cryptocurrencies, that's one step closer to mass adoption. So think about Amazon, think about Microsoft, think about Apple before they were mass adopted.
Yeah,
and that's where we are. That's where we are. And when we think about like how the technology has grown so substantially, like I get ads. I don't know, you get ads all the time in there. I see all these different platforms, like they do trading with bots, algorithms.
Right. Yeah. And that's a really big topic right now, those bots.
Yeah. And it's just, again, it's like our technology has gotten so advanced that like algorithms, drones, robots, this is going to be a huge part of our economy, and it's like, we might not understand it, but that's okay. Right? Because we'll understand other things. Like we don't understand electricity. If you popped open a hood of a car and said, Andrea, where's the carburetor? I wouldn't be able to tell you, but I know when I put my key in the ignition, it works.
Thank goodness for that. Right. Exactly.
Right. So, I'm trying to think of what else to say, but it's like, whether you understand it, whether you like it, whether you don't like it, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Like the global monetary system is seeing systemic issues. Inflation around the world is so high. And look at these countries who have high systemic inflation. What are they turning to? They're turning to Bitcoin. They're turning to a new financial system. And I believe that's why we need it. You know what I mean?
Well, the old system obviously isn't working. I mean, we have to move forward. In order to evolve, we have to embrace this.
Absolutely. And it's going to be a good thing. Like if we think about right now, like our debt to GDP ratio is 350%. So what that means is we spend 350% more than what we are producing. If the average person was 350% in debt, they would file for bankruptcy. That's and it's not just our country, it's all the countries, right? We're all in the same boat. And I think that cryptocurrency and the blockchain is the way out of this mess.
Right.
It really is.
Absolutely. Universally, everything's in really a crisis mode. And if you really looked at it, it's a crisis mode. And this is where this technology will really begin and has begun to already take hold.
Yeah. And some of it is so good. Like if you think about like, I think it's like 1.7 or 1.9 billion people are unbanked. And I know we've talked about this before, but it's like, look at what Danielle Dixon's doing with the Stellar Foundation. So we have about 2 billion people who are unbanked, but they have a phone. Now they can download the Stellar app on their phone. Anyone can send money to anywhere in the world, and that person will get their Stellar. They could go to any MoneyGram, look around, Walgreens, CVS, Duane Reade, wherever you live, all around the country, there's MoneyGram centers. That person can go into any MoneyGram center and walk out with their Currencies cash in their hand if they want to, transfer it, because we're all still using dollars right now or our currency for the most part, right? So again, it's like Danielle Dixon said, it's in the pilot form right now, but hopefully by the end of the first half of 2022, this is going to go live. So you're talking June of this year, the Stellar Foundation is going to start to bank the unbanked through an app on your phone.
It's amazing.
It's really amazing. It's amazing because when you look at Western Union, when you look at some of these like intermediaries, they are charging usury fees to people. Think about California, all the immigrant farmers, and they send their money back. They send the money to their family back in Mexico. What if they're sending them $1,000, but their family's only getting $800? Now you can send XRP, Algorand, Stellar for pennies on the dollar. Pennies.
That's huge.
It's huge. I mean, this is so big, you guys. Like our whole financial system is going to become more fair.
And we don't recognize really, I mean, we're very fortunate, many of us, to have the ability to live fairly comfortable, but the impact that it has on those that really struggle, it changes their whole way of living.
Their whole way
gives them hope, right?
Well, yeah, and it gives them access to services that they've never had before, because there's so many people that don't have bank accounts. There's so many people that don't have credit cards. They have no access to traditional money. So if you have an artist that lives in Nigeria who makes this amazing freaking like painting and ships it, you have foreign fees, you have all of these things when it comes through the money. So now it's just direct peer-to-peer payments. That's what blockchain is. I can send Kelly money without going to Western Union to send Kelly money. So Kelly gets most of the money. That makes sense. And I love it. I love it so much, I mean, the on and off ramps has been such an issue with the use case for this technology, and we're seeing solutions. These companies are providing solutions to our problems. So cool. I mean, this is just so cool. Oh, the other cool thing too, I wanted to mention about Stellar. So Stellar started their company back in 2014. Jeb McCaleb was one of the co-founders. He was also one of the co-founders of Ripple, but he left and he started Stellar and then brought on Danielle Dixon, who is now like the CFO. And from 2014 to 2020, 6 years, they hit 1 billion transactions.
Wow.
In the same year, so from 2020 to the end of 2020, they doubled it.
Yeah.
They doubled it. They went from 1 billion to 2 billion. That is exponential growth, folks. And we are looking at this 1 billion to 2 billion. Then that 2 billion goes to 4 billion. That 4 billion goes to 8 billion. That 8 billion goes to 6 and on and on and on. That's exponential growth. That's how this works in technology. It's like it creates a network effect, and it's so cool.
It's so cool.
It's just so exciting. It's just so exciting.
So many topics and things. Wow.
Yeah. And it's just, and I get really excited because I kind of feel like, the key to all of this is preparation, right? Like we talk a lot about being prepared. Never in our lives have we been told to stay home. Never in our lives have we seen inflation go up this much. Never in our lives have we seen the Federal Reserve Bank create so much money. We don't know what's going to happen. So all of this stuff, when we talk about food and water, it's an insurance policy. And like even today, Roa and I were going to go through our cans of food, and we're going to go to the food bank, and we're going to offer the food bank, some of our food, and then we just like replenish our supply. So we're helping out our local community members. And again, it's just an insurance policy, because there's a lot of truckers right now that aren't on the road.
Right.
And again, maybe nothing happens, but I've talked about this before. We have an on-time delivery service. So if we're not on time, our food won't be on time. And it's just something, it's not anything to be scared of. It's like, once you're prepared, you're not scared.
Right, exactly. And I think it was it Monday morning? I can't even remember. I think I sent you the song Convoy. Paul's song Convoy. I grew up on that, in the 70s. But yeah, it's a very important thing to be aware of. Not in fear, but we have to take a look at what's really taking place and be
Absolutely
mindful, be prepared in whatever context that is for you.
Be prepared. And it was really cool. I wrote down a quote that Steve Jobs said. And he said, the most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Undoubtedly. And it's kind of like, I believe that we have the opportunity to educate the masses and change and create the vision of an entire generation. Can you imagine? We are steering the ship for the next generation of people to a fair, more equitable society, a more democratic society that's it's kind of run away with corruption, so we don't want that. And again, it's happening, like everything that we talked about last week with Janet Yellen getting unilateral support, right, from the government to squash digital payments. By Tuesday, it was off the American Competes Act. Why is that? Because the people are speaking. The people are standing up. The people are getting in a convoy, whether it's for mandates or whether it's for money. This is happening, folks. We are going to get control of our money. It's literally the most exciting time to be alive.
It is. And if you go back into the historical aspects, it's like we are the bards, the storytellers of this generation, and we can choose to speak and continue to build it out. But this is amazing. And I love that analogy. We all, analogy, excuse me, that we all really are in that convoy for whatever that is that you're getting in line for, right? Whatever that is.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And again, it's kind of like I think about Bitcoin. I saw some news come out, and it's like it surpassed American Express and Discover in annual transactions in 2021.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I mean, it's like every week it's more adoption, it's more use cases, we're solving more problems.
On that Bitcoin thing, I think there is that topic out there, and we don't have to, I'm probably giving us a left turn because I'm so good at that, but the energy consumption that Bitcoin requires, of course, always keeps that on this precipice, is how is the longevity of Bitcoin truly versus these other coins eventually perhaps becoming bigger than Bitcoin or more of the stable part of the cryptocurrency world?
And that's such a good question, because when I look at Bitcoin, when Bitcoin was first released, it is high energy consumption. Okay, yeah. So we've already mined most of the Bitcoin, so that's done, right? But now what they're finding is, and I know we posted this article where you can capture the energy, the unused energy from mining from Bitcoin, and provide electricity to houses. The first city was the one in North Vancouver, and now they're doing it through geothermal engineering in El Salvador from their volcano to provide their Bitcoin city with electricity. So there's multiple use cases for a lot of this different technology. But, with that said, there are better systems built like XRP, Algorand, VeChain, Stellar, that are very carbon neutral. So when we're talking about peer-to-peer sending money back and forth really quickly, I think that Bitcoin's probably going to be a store of value. And I think these technologies are going to evolve over time, just like the internet evolved over time.
Just like MySpace became Facebook. So what's after Facebook?
Exactly.
Everything has its season. Everything has its season.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's different use cases for all this different technology. And it's almost like I want to stop calling it cryptocurrency, because I even think that's confusing. Everyone thinks that, well, why are there 17,000 different money? It's not money, it's technology. And each technology platform solves a different problem. Bitcoin solves the problem of intermediaries, right? Bitcoin was the first technology where I could send money to Kelly through the internet without making myself a copy, which would be counterfeit. Bitcoin solved that problem, so we're going to keep seeing this evolve more and more. But do you want to say anything else about like the energy consumption? Because I know it's becoming more green.
It is becoming more green, and I think everything is. And it's you even think of, like you said, the small communities that are repurposing the energy or even the heat that a room that's holding all the Bitcoin mining equipment, and repurposing that energy to warm a space or to facilitate other things. I think that the fact of the matter is that technology in all ways is exploring all of these various opportunities to repurpose everything, whatever it is. And it's good to see that happening in the mainstream conversation with all the projects. I don't think there's too many projects out there that are out there, creating additional waste when they shouldn't be. I mean, I think everybody's being pretty mindful about it or working towards that.
Absolutely. And I think too, when Bitcoin was first released, there was a lot of mining that was done in China, and they used a lot of coal. How much mining today is done with coal? Not a lot. They really moved to solar, to wind, to water, so there's a lot of different ways to mine for Bitcoin using clean energy. So, I think that's kind of like a narrative that keeps going on and on and on, but I don't think that it's true anymore. I think years ago, we could make that argument, like, absolutely. And the larger it goes, the more energy it needs to mine that, what is there, only like 2 million Bitcoin left?
I think
Maybe
it's something
3.
like that. Isn't the halving event coming up? Is next year the halving event? There's a Bitcoin halving event is it 4 years?
Yeah. So 2 years. I think in 2 years we'll have another halving event.
Yeah.
Yep. So we'll see what happens, but yeah, it's just, it kind of like blows my mind, because I think about all the different use cases, and even like, I know a lot of people want to like, we should all diversify our investments. And did you hear about this company called Masterworks.io? That's their so Masterworks, you can actually purchase like a high-end piece of art, like a Monet.
Mhm.
And what Masterworks has done is they've created shares. So we're tokenizing, right? We're creating shares from a physical piece of art, and now we're digitizing it into shares. So if I want to take $500, now I own a piece of that Monet. And as it goes up to auction, I think you have to hold it for a certain amount of time before it goes to auction. And then once they sell it, they pay you.
Interesting.
Yeah, they pay you, they just share the proceeds with you based on how much you invested. So again, we're democratizing, right? This is something where like people couldn't go just buy a Monet, right? Like no one could go buy a Monet. Like, let's be realistic, but now we can. So this is a democratization of like money, because I can buy $500 of Monet and be a part of it.
Well, and you know what's interesting along the same lines is there's an NFT. It's called No Limit Llamas. Have you heard of this?
Mm-mm.
No Limit Llamas, where you buy a llama and it gives you a stake to an online casino. So then when you buy this NFT that's a llama, you can have a seat at the table playing cards, whatever the case may be, or you can just own the NFT. But really what you're doing is you're owning a stake in the online casino.
Nice.
So as the casino is earning, you have a percentage in the casino. So very similar to what you're speaking of. And so it's interesting, so I think that's something to really understand, that the cryptocurrencies, the NFTs, all of these things have so many different layers and projects. There's a huge gambling aspect to it. There's ways that you can bet on horses. There's ways that you can do all these different things. So if there's something that interests you, I'll guarantee you that if you do a search under that topic in the cryptocurrency world, you'll find something. If it's art, if it's horse racing, if it's playing poker, whatever the case may be, you're going to find something that is in alignment to whatever it is that you're enjoying or what have you. In a really fascinating and creative way, some of these projects are being run.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's so cool. That's just so cool.
Yeah, and it's just like and it's even like Johnny Depp. Did you see recently where he launched his own NFTs on his art? Yeah, it's amazing. He's an amazing artist. But what I love about it is that there's an end case. He's going to sell his NFTs, but he is contributing it to whatever charity it is that he believes in. So anyway, I think that there's just some really neat ways to participate and see what others are doing out there.
Yeah. And it's good too, because I think a lot of people even get confused about NFTs, and that's something we're going to go into depth when we teach our class, but again, it's just NFT is a non-fungible token, and you're taking a physical asset and you're digitizing it and you're tokenizing it. And that's like a very brief, concise definition of what an NFT is. And we're going to dive in deep on our class. So we go, it's really important. It's like a new language. It's a new vocabulary. Yeah.
It is absolutely. And it's just like what you're speaking about in regards to the Masterworks, is that tokenized aspect is happening, and it will soon be available for us to participate in stocks in a tokenized way as well.
Absolutely. Everything is going to be tokenized, everything.
Which gives everybody an opportunity to be in the game.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, because when the banks are only paying you 0.25% interest on your savings account and they're charging you 21% when you go and charge something on your credit card, we need a new system, y'all. And this is it.
It is.
And it's so exciting.
I know.
And we appreciate everybody being on this journey with us.
We absolutely do. And we hope that you're having a blast learning and enjoying, you know, just kind of leaning into what, as we say, what are the possibilities? And we'll see what happens this week.
Yep, it's going to be a great week. And, you know, the market's up right now. I think we're going to go up and down and we'll watch it. And we're just going to keep coming out with our podcast every Friday night, and just stay tuned as we dive deeper and deeper. And we're always open to feedback. Anything that you want to learn, know, just ask. We're here.
We absolutely are. So with that, we ask you or encourage you to hodl on.
Hodl on. See y'all next week.
Your hosts for Two Women in Crypto are Andrea Caldero and Kelly Lair. Andrea can be reached at digitalcoach@protonmail.com, or you can find her on LinkedIn at Andrea Caldero. Kelly runs 2 programs related to cryptocurrency: The Future in You Cryptocurrency Group for Women, which can be found at news72media.com/thefuture, and The Gateway to Crypto, The Magic of Flipnir, through the Northern Gateway at thenortherngateway.org/cryptocurrency.